So welcome to Financing a Business. We have Shankar Hegde with the SCORE Boston chapter. And we also have two representatives from the East Cambridge Savings Bank with us today to help answer questions. They are also sponsoring this webinar, but we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. But I want to first talk to you about SCORE in case you're not familiar with what we do. The big thing that we do is provide information, and we do that in a couple of different ways. One is free information on our website. You're going to find, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, I encourage you to look at it. There's lots of information under templates and resources. Templates that you could download for free. Those templates are business plans, budgets, cash flow, marketing plans. There's all kinds of different things in there. You're going to find blogs, you're going to find articles, you're going to find previously recorded webinars. So it's really a great resource for information. The other thing we do are webinars and workshops. You're here today, so I know you know about those. And we usually have announcements for those through our newsletter. You can also find that information on the website as well. The most important thing that SCORE does is the mentoring. And our mentors are volunteers, and they come to us from a wide variety of backgrounds, and they have different experiences that they want to share with the small business community. And we're working with folks that are trying to decide if small business is right for them. We're working with those that are in that planning phase, and we're working with those that are already in business, coming to us with different questions about many different business topics. So if you've never met with a SCORE mentor before, a first session is going to be a get to know you. They want to know what your goals and challenges are, and they're going to work with you to come up with a plan for those goals and challenges. Our mentors work as a team, so they will often reach out to each other to, as your needs change, to help answer all your questions. So to get a SCORE mentor is very easy. You can use that QR code, or you can go to the score.org website. You can put your zip code in, and it will match you to the chapter that's nearest you. It'll ask you to fill out a form, and that information that you provide in that form will allow us to match you to the appropriate mentor that can best assist you. So today, as we get going, just so you know, we are using the Q&A button on the Zoom bar for questions. As I mentioned, we do anticipate, there's usually a lot of questions to go along with this topic. So it allows me to not lose track of those questions. Also, if you submit anonymously, then there's a follow-up to that, I can't match those questions. So if you could avoid that, that's helpful to me so that I know which questions go together. And then we are recording, and within the next 24 to 48 hours, we will post that recording to the score.org/Boston website. And then we will also be sending out a follow-up with that recording link and a handout for today's presentation with all the links that he's going to talk about, because he's got quite a few of them. So as we get started, I want to turn it over to Robert Nichols from East Cambridge Savings Bank.
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you everyone for joining the webinar this afternoon. It's great to be back. SCORE has been a great partner to work with, and we continue and are willing to provide these outstanding workshops for everyone. East Cambridge Savings Bank is a mutual savings bank. We are not a publicly traded company, and we do not have investors. Mutual savings banks have been around since the early 19th century and are still common in New England. Our bank was founded in 1854 and has been operating with the same name in charter since then, and we have never been acquired or sold to a larger bank. Since East Cambridge Savings Bank is a mutual bank, and the fact that we do not have shareholders, we reinvest profits locally through mortgages, loans for small businesses, and supporting nonprofit organizations. Thank you, and back to you, Teresa.
Thanks, Robert. We're going to go ahead and get things started. So I'm going to turn it over to Shankar and start our presentation.
Thanks, Teresa. Let me share my presentation. Okay. Can you see my screen?
No, it didn't go up.
Okay, hold on.
There, now we see it. Thank you.
Oh, but I don't see it here. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay. Can you see now?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Thanks, Teresa. Just a little introduction. I have been with the SCORE as a mentor for 8 years now. Before that, I worked for a big company like Arthur Anderson, AT&T Bell Labs, and small startup companies. And then I started my own company. So many of the things I talk about here is through my own experience. I have done a business plan. I have done the startup cash flow and got the money. Went on to a successful startup business for a few years until I retired and then started joining. I joined SCORE 8 years ago. So with that, let me start out with why do people start businesses? And then how many ways you can start a business? People think starting a business is just one way, means you have to start from the scratch, but it's not just one way. Then no matter how you start a business, no matter what kind of business you are planning to start or a business you are already in, always there is a need for financing unless you can finance your own. So I will talk about different types of financing a business. And then at the end, I will give some examples. We did a study or a survey of how the funding has been used in about 1,000 startup businesses. Then I will make sure that there is plenty of time for questions and answers. Why do people start business? Because they think they have a unique product or service that will be useful to somebody else so that they can get paid for that product or service. And some people tell me that they want to be their own boss. That's fine. But that should not be the main driving force behind starting a business. You want to build something. That's an excellent reason. You want to build a service or a product. And there is nothing wrong with getting rich and also to have the goal to get rich or at least make a decent living. Many people come to me and they say they want to quit the job and start a business. I will tell them that make sure that your business model is good enough to start making a reasonable profit. And in a year or two or three, you should be making as much money as you would be otherwise working for somebody else. So otherwise, really, there is no point in having a business. Then some people want to build a lifestyle business, and with really online presence, the YouTuber, I'm sure you're familiar with the YouTube, the people with the YouTube. I have seen people making a very decent living, especially YouTube for cooking, YouTube for travel, or YouTube for yoga. They're all some good good examples of lifestyle business. Again, many kinds of businesses, selling a product, selling a service, or professional practices like consulting or lawyers or any of those other professional services could be professional practices. And nonprofits. Remember, nonprofit is a business as well, and nonprofit has to make money, except the profit is going to be for for a charity or for some kind of a service that is qualified under IRS regulations. Okay, start from scratch. I mean, that's what people think when they say, I want to start a business. Most of the businesses may be that way, but you can always start a business by an existing business or license a business or a brand. That's a franchising. So let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of each type of business. So when you start from scratch, you have total control. You make all decisions, keep all the profits. So that's the biggest upside. However, remember, disadvantage is you had to create your own operating systems. And as you probably are aware, there is a high failure rate. People say 1 in 10 will survive after 3 years, maybe 1 in 20 sometimes. And remember, it takes a few years before you start making the money. So that means you have to have your own funding, or you have to find funds from external sources, which I'm going to talk about. Now, by an existing business, the advantage is at least you know the cash flow, or at least you know the cash flow and historical data as provided by the previous owner. And also, since there is a track record, if you want to raise some funds, it's an advantage for you to approach a bank because you already have at least 3 years of historical data. And you know the established location where it is, and obviously you have a customer base provided by the previous owner. And also there are operating systems in place. And also you may get some owner financing. There is nothing wrong with asking the owner to do some financing. So that is a distinct advantage. However, you really don't know what is the real cash flow. I mean, there is really not a very good way of checking the cash flow provided by the previous owner. And also, you don't know why the owner is selling the business. And in addition, the owner may take some of the employees to his different business if he is doing another business. Or when the owner changes, some of the employees may decide not to stick with you. So that means you need to hire new employees, then you need to train them. Again, the training materials may or may not be good, whatever you get from the previous owner. So you need to look at the training material, then you may have to update, and you may have to do some additional training material as well. Now, let us look at licensing a business or a brand. This is pretty familiar to almost everybody because you do hear about the big names like Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Burger King. However, there are so many different brands that are not that famous, but you can make a decent living. I mean, the laundromat, right? I mean, you can buy a laundromat, or you can buy a restaurant. It may not be a part of the chain, but you can buy a restaurant if it is for sale. The advantage is especially if you're trying to buy a big name like Subway or McDonald's, there is a name recognition. There is a proven business system to start and operate your business. And again, big names do have good training material and support. So you can own that training material and support and the marketing expertise. So what they say in this kind of business is own your own, but never alone. What that means is there is a whole infrastructure, business infrastructure behind that business. So that is means the rate of failure or the failure that your business will fail is pretty low, unless really you make some bad mistakes. However, as you know, since it is a licensing a brand of business, you have to pay the loyalty for ongoing payment every month, every quarter, whatever way it is. So you cannot keep all the profit you make. So that's number one. And there is a territory restriction, means you need to operate only in a certain territory, a certain geographic area, so to sell your product or service. So that's another clear disadvantage. And then the structured operating system, what that means is they give you all the books, they give you everything, but you cannot change. If you want to make any change, you have to tell the quote unquote the headquarters, and you have to wait for the headquarters to make the change. And if they don't make the change, you better live with what you got. So that's really another disadvantage. But however, you have seen a lot of people buying or licensing a brand or a business. Okay, no matter how you start a business, many times you have a need for additional funding. The best way is really, as they say in the business, you have your own financing from your liquid asset, from your savings, or credit cards. I really warn you not to really use your credit card unless you can pay back the money in time. Otherwise, you are hit with a heavy interest rate, and if you are late, in addition to the interest, you have to pay the penalty. So it's really not a good idea to use your credit card, but in case you have to use the credit card, so you have to use it. Better option is if you have your home, you own your home. If you have some equity, then it's better to get a home equity loan from the bank. It's easier to get a home equity loan than a personal loan from the bank. So I would rather go for the home equity loan. If not, then the personal loan, bank always wants to have some kind of a collateral. So either you have to have a house or you have to have some kind of a personal asset to get a loan, because you will not get a business loan if you are starting out new or start from the scratch. However, you can get a business loan if you buy a business or if you license a brand, because that is kind of an ongoing business. So at least you have a record of 3 years. The other way is to really get your friends and relatives to pitch in. Again, this is not a charity. You tell them that you want a loan at a prevailing market rate of interest, or you can negotiate some kind of equity in your business. Again, it's up to you, and it's up to you and your friend or a relative how you want to structure the money that you are getting from them. So that's what I call it, the big bucket of owner financing. Now I have grouped together a bunch of these things via what I call ecosystems, because they are indeed ecosystem. They are trying to help you. They are trying to get you in the business ecosystem. So I will give you some of the examples. So the first one category is a business plan. Then I will go through some of the grants, then incubators or accelerators. And the last in this category is crowdfunding. Okay, business plan. Most of the business plans are associated with the universities. So what that means, you have to be either a student or an alumni. I guess sometimes, I'm not sure, you have to check it out. Some universities probably will let you participate if you are a friend of an alumni. I'm not sure, I heard about it, but definitely you have to be alumni or a student or a faculty, any of those above. So in this local area where I am in the Boston area, I am outlining some of the universities. They have multiple programs really. MIT is big one in this area. MIT has several business plan competitions. The big one is what they call 100K entrepreneurship competition. It happens at least once a year, maybe more than once a year. Then Harvard Business School has, again, multiple business plan competition from Harvard. In the Harvard Business School itself has a new venture competition. Babson has a bunch of business plan competitions. So is Dartmouth, BU. Almost every big university has a business plan competition. By the way, UMass Amherst has an innovation challenge. The only one that is available is what they call a U.pitch. It used to be done by a bunch of university coalition, but it's been taken over by, I think it's private. It's called futurefounders.com. Again, you can look at this link. I think Teresa is going to give you the link, but I just want to quickly go through. Okay, it says young entrepreneurs, and you have some of the statistics below here. There are 47,000 people, they have been served. The reason I'm telling you this one is I think it's available to anybody and everybody. Okay, that's the only reason. There are other organizations. It's not really well known, but American Chemical Society has a business plan competition. When I did my own business plan, IEEE used to have a business plan competition. I have not put that in here because I could not find out whether they still have a business plan competition, but I will check it again after this seminar and let you know. Here, locally, Draper competition for women is still around. Then the last one is the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards. Again, as the name suggests, it is for students only. Okay, the grants. There are several grants. You don't have to be a nonprofit for the grants. In fact, all the ones that I am outlining here are for profit businesses. The first one is the Amber Grant. In fact, I just helped one of my clients, SCORE clients, to complete an application for the Amber Grant. It only took like a half an hour, 45 minutes. All these grants, in fact, any of the grants nowadays, you apply online. And there is a small fee. I did not know about the small fee, but there is. I think the Amber Grant is about $15. Advantage of the Amber Grant is they have this every month. So you can apply any month of the year, and they have a 10,000 grants. It's more than one grant. And in addition to that, they have a 25,000 annually. So I really encourage people to apply to this one. The only limitation is, I don't know whether it's a limitation or a good thing, you have to be a woman entrepreneur. So sorry guys, if you are a man, you cannot apply for the Amber Grant. It looks like I have been outlining here many of the grants specifically catered towards women, but there are grants applicable to men as well. There are a lot of state grants. They do not discriminate between a man or a woman. You can apply for any of the state grants. But the Alice for minorities and women started a few years ago. That has been very popular. Advantage of, I always tell my clients to apply for more than one grant. That's critical. You need to apply for 3 to 4 grants. And because the chances of getting a grant is not too high. So I am always telling people to apply for 3 to 4. And you can apply for all the grants at the same time. The reason is, once you apply for one grant, you can pretty much cut and paste, because most of the grants really ask for the similar information. Why you are doing this business? What is your product or service? And how much money you are going to make and when? And how are you going to use the grant money? And how much you are going to use the grant money? And when you are going to use it? What I call the milestones. So always you need to identify a few milestones for any grant. And some grants ask you the competition, some don't. So I would really encourage you to take a look at every grant application and see whether it fits you or not. Going down here, a Girl Boss Foundation. Again, this is minority women and specifically for Black women. Take a look at that one, and it is about 15,000 is in grant money. It's on a biannual basis, means twice a year. FedEx is not discriminating. It can be any man or a woman. Only limitation is you had to be a FedEx client for 6 months. So then you can apply for the FedEx grant. NASC is a National Association for the Self-Employed. If you are self-employed, or if you're obviously applying or for a grant for your business, then you can apply for this one. The only limitation is the money is not big. The last time I checked, it was 4,000, but they do apply this grant for several people. The next one is Cartier Women Initiative Award. This is a big one internationally. This is like 100,000 in prize money, first prize. And second prize is $30,000. So it's a big money. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of people applying for this grant. Again, just because there are a lot of people applying for the grant doesn't mean you should not. So try for this one. The other one, I would skip it, is only for the female jewelry designers. Then comes the state grants. Every state has money. There are different types of grants. The one here, the link I'm providing you here. See, this one is any state and every state here. And if you just click on this, okay. So say in Connecticut, for example, there are 11 grants right now. So right here you can apply. The only drawback I'm going to tell you upfront, since this is managed or maintained by C2ER, they want you to pay their fees, which is going to be 365. I checked it last time. So this is quite a bit of money. So really, my advice is go through this one unless and until you exhaust other possibilities, because you don't have to go through this database. You can Google them. Every state has all the grant available is available free. So you may have to spend a little more time to be patient so that you can apply for the right grant. Part of state of Massachusetts, where I am here, there in Boston, you don't, I think you don't have to live in the Boston area, but they started what they call as SPACE, Space Grant. They started since COVID. It's available to anybody. I think they really have two reasons for this one. They want you to start a business, preferably a brick and mortar business, in some of those what I call vacant properties that are available in the Boston area. They want to really fill those vacancies with really some of the businesses. And Boston, obviously, like any other city, wants to hire more people. So if you have business, you're hiring some people, and if your business has a brick and mortar, then really I want you to take a look at it. Space Grant. In fact, I'm helping two of my clients. The next one, Space Grant, is going to be opened up in June. So you take a look at this one and apply in June. I think they already had one in December. They're going to announce the winners, I think sometime this month or next month. So any of the grants, my advice is don't forget, just because you apply, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. So you have to follow up. What I mean by follow up is somehow you need to connect with the people who are making the decisions. In, for example, Amber Grant, there are 3 women who are the founders. They are the decision makers. So either through your LinkedIn or through your people you know, if you can get to know the person, you can tell them, say, so and so really referred me to you, and I have applied for a grant. I would like to take a look. I would like to see the status. So I would want you to follow up within 2 weeks, so that you really want to talk to the real person as opposed to a voicemail, because again, if you leave a voicemail, it just gets deleted. Unless you leave a voicemail saying so and so referred me to you, that so and so is familiar or is a friend of the person who is making that decision to fund you the money. So again, follow up, follow up, follow up. Now the federal grants, I have 2 different websites. I think you should take a look at both of them. And one of the well-kept secret, maybe well-kept secret, is what they call SBIR, Small Business Innovation Research Grant. So people don't apply to that one. They think you have to be high tech. You don't have to be high tech, because look at this slide here. So many departments of federal government offer this SBIR grant. Starting with the Defense Department, DoD, is spending about 1.8 to almost close to, now it's about 1.9 billion. This is a fiscal year 19. It's like a 5-year-old data. So all the budget money has gone up. The reason I'm putting this slide still is it all fits in one page, and you can take a look at all the different departments. And if you have a relevant service or a product, it really has to be a little bit unique. It can't be, I'm starting up a restaurant, you're not going to qualify. I have a client, he got 4 different grants from DoD. Obviously, he doing artificial limb, artificial leg. US Army obviously gives him the grant to do some innovative research, improving the sensitivity of the arms and the limb, so that you or he can pick up an egg or pick up a stone, either one. So anyway, look at all the different departments, and you should, this will take some time. In fact, I am advising one client right now. Next week there is another meeting with them. They did narrow it down to 2 different agencies. They are going to apply for 2 different funds. One thing I put in here is a little more detail. Again, this will be a very useful link if you are interested in that one. Here, it turns out that it's powered by SBA. Okay, this one gives you quite a bit of details. Okay, they have phase 1 funding, phase 2 funding, all that kind of a thing. So look at any one of them. Department of Agriculture, they have a total of 32 million. However, they give you 100,000 for phase 1, 600,000 for phase 2. This is grant. Most of them are grants. Some are contracts. DoD is a contract. Then you can kind of go through the slide and narrow it down to what department you want to apply. Okay. All right. So then once you get into the department, it's all online. Very easy to follow the online and then online application. They decide very quickly. 3 to 4 months. I applied for one. I got $3 million from NIST, which is a part of Department of Commerce. We got $3 million for 3 years. We got it in 3 to 4 months. Most of the agencies invite you to come to Washington, D.C. for a presentation. And after the presentation, it's a matter of 2 months. Okay, that's so much of SBIR. I spent a little bit more time because I think I want you to really take a look at this one. Okay, now switching the gear, incubators and accelerators. There used to be a difference. Incubator is an agency or a organization. If you have a good idea, they will fund you, they will provide a space for you, and then they take it from there. The next step would have been accelerator. So you have incubator and then you go to the accelerator. But now incubators do the job of acceleration. Accelerators start with the incubation. So really it doesn't matter the name, but I have kept the name because in the industry they still have the incubators and accelerators. So don't ask me what is an incubator and what is an accelerator. So in this local area here in the New England, when I say New England, most of them are based in the Boston area and Cambridge, obviously. Mass Challenge is very, very, very popular. So I would want you to consider Mass Challenge. Y Combinator has been out of the West Coast, but I think it's all really all over US. Code Launch is the local one. Harvard Innovation Lab, MIT Global Startups, Cubic Labs. You can Google and probably you can spend some time to figure out what incubator you have closer to you. I would advise you to apply for the incubator closer to you geographically because you may want to obviously use the facility in a very easily accessible driving time, maybe less than half an hour. So take a look at that again, Google them and apply. Obviously, they have again online application. You should apply online. By the way, since they started with an idea, you may have to have a business plan. Again, each one is different. Business plan doesn't have to be big, at a few pages. And then they obviously call you for the interview, and then they will provide you some seed funding. And if you need some space, they will provide you some space as well. And one thing that comes to my mind is MIT. There is a startup lab is pretty big. They have all kinds of facilities there as well. So is Harvard. It's called iLabs. I have been there. Now, okay, crowdfunding. Everybody has heard about crowdfunding because they probably have seen a friend of theirs applying for GoFundMe. As you know, GoFundMe is only for the emergency situation. Something happens to some persons and they don't have enough money. However, if you are raising money for a business, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, probably you heard about them, or you can look at this link for details. They have a similar business model, means they take a percentage, anywhere from 3 to 5% of the money you have raised, and they, on top of that, they charge you a percentage or some transaction fee as well. The difference between Kickstarter and Indiegogo, Kickstarter, again, they might have changed, but used to say you have set up a limit of 100,000. It's all or nothing. So if you don't get to 100,000, they don't give you any money. Whereas Indiegogo, if you raise 50,000 and they give you 50,000, subtracting their own fees. So take a look at them and see whether your particular product, specifically, oh, by the way, both of them give you give you money for the product most likely, as opposed to a service. But again, to my knowledge, they have not provided any money for a service. Most of them provide money for a product. If you are a not for profit, if you have a non-profit, Mighty Cause is the one, or Patreon. Oh, by the way, Mighty Cause is for non-profit. Patreon is for artists. If you are a musician, if you are a painter, if you are a singer, you should take a look at that website. Skip GoFundMe. Then there are a couple of other ones, Circle Up, Fundable. The last one, Start Engine, is a little bit of different. Okay, it is a crowdfunding, but they will fund you as a equity. So it's really crowdfunding equity. So what that means is, for say 100,000, they will really keep a percentage of your company. They claim they have helped hundreds of thousands of startup businesses. So I would want you to take a look at that as well. Now, the next category is debt financing. Whatever the name you call debt financing is, you're getting a loan. So you have to pay back the loan in a certain amount of time. And for that, you have to give them a percentage interest. Okay. So the difference here is between any of these things is really the percent interest, and the difference is how good is your credit score, whether you have a collateral. Okay, if you have a collateral and your credit score is good, I think our Robert will probably tell you a little more. So you can apply for a bank loan. Again, bank loan comes in different formats: revolving credit, working capital, line of credit, or strictly a loan, business loan. If your credit rating is not that high, and really you don't really have a collateral, and the peer-to-peer lending companies are willing to take a little higher risk, for that they demand a higher interest rate from you. So again, take a look at some of these things for peer-to-peer lending. Again, I would try the bank first. If you don't get the money from the bank, then you go for peer-to-peer lending. As well as you can look into community development financial institutions. They have almost every state had this one, CDFI. The third one is equipment leasing. Again, this is for the big equipment, like a big heavy constructions sites, or maybe the kitchen also will qualify, the industrial kitchen, where you have to get the equipment. It will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they get you the money up front so that you can buy the equipment, and then you pay off the loan. It's pretty much the loan against the equipment. The other one, invoice receivable financing. Again, if you have a money coming in, say big money, a couple of 100,000, but your money is not coming because there is a 90-day. So if you can't get your money in 90 days, you go to one of these and they give you the loan right away. Again, it will take a few days, but they charge you the interest again. And you can pay out the loan when you get your money in whatever the 90-day terms of engagement, in 90 days probably. Now I will go a little bit detail onto small business administration. Before I talk about SBA loan, that is a misnomer. SBA does not provide you the loan. It's the bank that does. What does SBA do? SBA guarantees the bank so that the bank can lend you the money with a little bit lower credit rating, and your credit score may not be that high, but your business idea is good, your business model is good, so that the bank says, yes, you can have enough free cash flow so that they can get their interest and the principal when it is due. So these are the only thing that the bank is looking for. Okay, this is a quick diagram here. Borrower applies at a bank decides if yes, but as a SBA loan, bank underwrites based on the SBA policy. If loan is approved, bank closes and services the loan, and the borrower works with the bank and not the SBA. So this is really pretty much the highlight of this SBA loan. So with that, I'm not going to go through all the details again. If Teresa gets you this slides, so you can look into that, or you can Google them, okay, or you can talk with SBA. Different types of SBA loans. The common one is called 504, and again, then there is the other one called 7A. They're pretty much some of the criteria are the same. The interest rate also, they talk about this one here, the terms, the maturities. Again, these are all available from the SBA website. The other one is 504. Again, the structure a little bit different. It is really your own money and plus the bank, plus what an entity called CDC or SBA. Okay. So this is a three-way lending program. They want to make sure that you put in some of your own money. Okay, the same kind of a thing, 504 loan. Okay, now the other one, which I don't think SBA advertises too much, but I think this is still available. Last time I checked, it was still available. They call it a micro loan. It's not really a micro, it's a direct loan up to 50,000. This was interest rate below 9% fixed. This was a few months ago. I think still probably it has gone down a little bit. Again, funds can be used for any of your business needs. Okay, now the other is really the equity financing. What this means is this is not a loan. So for the money you are getting, you are giving up a percentage of your business. So that is the equity. Okay, the first one is you have your partner, you put in same amount of money, you are declaring a 50% partnership. Okay, another company can give you the money, the public market, IPO. Again, there is some kind of a misunderstanding. You go IPO not to get rich. However, you do get rich. But the reason you go IPO is to raise the money so that you can grow your business. Okay, that's really the principal reason for initial public offering. As a owner, you can sell your shares after the lockup period. Lockup period used to be 6 months. I think still it is. So that's the IPO. Now, in addition to these sources, there is a private market. The very common one is the angel investors. It could be an individual investor or the angel investor clubs. Then the other two, I'm going to really briefly describe these things. It may not be applicable in your case. It may be. Once you go through the angel investors, you can go next to the venture capital. Private equity is something that the big businesses, especially the big business in trouble, go to private equity. So the private equity will buy the business and they will probably consolidate and they probably resell it. So this may not be applicable to you. Okay, quickly, again, you can Google this again. This is the kind of a local area angel groups. Again, all these things have an application and they need a business plan. And they all have sometimes a common application, sometimes you can go on to their website and apply individually. The last one is golden seeds, is only for women again. Everything else is for anybody. Okay, VC and P, as I described before, venture capitalists is they get in early and they obviously raise, they give you the money in terms of thousands and millions sometimes, whereas the PE is in billions, private equity. The amount of equity they obtain is the VCs, and obviously you don't want to give them more than 50%, whereas PE acquires the whole company, that means 100%. And VCs get involved early, whereas the PEs get involved for a mature company. So there is a difference. Okay, again, these are the VCs. These are some of the private equities. So the last one is how we surveyed about 1,000 startup companies. This is a few years ago. And most of the companies we surveyed, 60%, over 60%, they use the personal funds. And over 20%, they use income from another job. 11% borrow from the friends. 11% from the bank loan, then the 9% from credit card. This is, as you can see, only 2% grants and about 1.7% crowdfunding. So this means how hard it is to get the money as you go down here. It's not easy to get the money from the investors or from the grants or from crowdfunding. So, as I said before, either you put in your own money or raise money from your friends and relatives, and then obviously go to the bank. Okay, this is how they use up the money: purchasing the equipment, inventory, marketing, product development, paying your own salary. By the way, that is important because till your company makes money, you have to live. So every time I say cash flow, put in money for yourself. So that's critical. Okay. With that, I think we have almost 8 to 10 minutes left for questions and answers. Teresa, over to you.
Yeah, I'm definitely, if we can bring Robert and Lynn back in too, because there's some confusion around loans and the SBA. So if we could kind of maybe clarify that, how the SBA works with the bank. If you wouldn't mind going into that, and then there's a part 2 to that, if I can, but I'll let you start there.
You or Robert, you want me to start or Robert?
Either one.
Shankar, you can start.
Okay. As I said before, SBA guarantees the loan. You don't have to go through the SBA. You go to directly one of the banks. Robert, is your bank SBA guarantee loans?
Yes, we offer SBA guaranteed
Okay,
loans.
okay,
Yes.
there you go. So you go directly to Robert. Okay, he will tell you what has to be done. Mostly he will explain to you. Mostly he needs a business plan. He needs a cash flow. He wants to see whether you have enough cash flow so that he can get his interest and the money back. Then, if it is not good enough, your credit score and good business plan, he will talk to SBA, and SBA will work with Robert and guarantee the loan. Or you can go through SBA first. SBA wants you to again we can help you into the business plan, cash flow, and then SBA will tell you, hey, go to Robert or go to Eastern Bank, go to any other banks, or they will leave it up to you. They will give you a list of banks. So you directly deal with the bank. Robert?
Yes, Shankar, thank you. So SBA is often used if there is a collateral shortfall, or for example, if there are two guarantors applying for a line of credit, say for 100,000, and one of the guarantors maybe has a sub-level credit, maybe in the low 600s, maybe in the mid 600s, the bank will go SBA just to help with the risk, basically limit the risk, because if that loan or line of credit defaults, then the bank is on the hook for 50%, the SBA is on the hook for 50%. The SBA will never make a bad loan good. It still has to be a good loan and cash flow favorably. There are,
So,
oh, go ahead, Teresa.
no, I was going to change the subject.
Okay.
So if I'm looking for a loan, do I just need a business plan, or is there other things the bank is looking for?
There's a lot. So we treat each individual circumstance differently, depending on the industry is a big thing. What kind of industry? We look at the 5 C's of credit: capacity, capital, collateral, character, conditions. Credit score is huge. If somebody has a high credit score, then typically they can handle debt and pay down debt. So it depends on a lot of things. Startups are very challenging for any bank to give a loan or line of credit. Sometimes the other issue too is collateral, and if there isn't enough collateral on the business side, a bank may use the individual's home as collateral.
Great, thank you. I have a question about borrowing money from family. This would probably be for Shankar. They're asking about borrowing money from family and how to get it back. And I would assume that means how to pay the family back. But I guess that would work the same as if you're getting a loan. You have to be able to show that you can make money. And then, I don't know, what do you have? Do you have anything you could offer?
It's much easier to borrow from a family than the bank, because there's a trust factor. They trust you that your business is going to succeed. So they may not really ask you for cash flow or a business plan or anything like that. You have a glass of wine, you talk about the business, and depending on your trust and how much they willing to risk and how much you are asking, there is a negotiation, and then there should be a document saying it's really a loan. So what is the terms of the loan? Are you going to borrow and pay back in 2 years, 3 years? What is the interest rate? Okay, and so remember, it should not be a charity. So you do some shop around, and what is the prevailing market rate? If you go to the bank, how much they charge you? Robert, is it 6%, 10%, in somewhere in between, right?
Yep.
Okay, so there you have it, right? You may get a loan for 5%, right? It's a family loan, okay? And so it's really a negotiation, and then the payback is the way you described in the piece of paper. What is your payback terms? Are you paying back interest only? Are you paying back principal and interest every month, or every 3 months, or a year? So it's totally entirely up to you and your family member. Did I answer?
Yeah, I think so. If not, I'm sure they'll follow up.
Okay.
Yeah, I have several questions asking about a grant writer, but I mean, SCORE does not offer grant writing services. Certainly we have mentors that can help you go through your grant applications and look at things. If Shankar, if you have anything
Yes,
else.
absolutely do not hire a grant writer, because you have to understand what it takes to apply for a grant. During the process, you learn, is it really worth it to apply for the grant? It's like writing a business plan. Don't hire somebody else to write your business plan. It is the writing of the business plan that really teaches you. It is the writing of the grant that is critical and important for you. Never ever hire a grant writer. Okay? Unless the grant writer has a track record of he knows somebody in that organization, he has a friends of them, he can follow through and get you the money, guarantee you the money. Or ask him for the references, how many grants he got. So if he just writes the grants and leave you alone, don't waste your money and time.
Okay. Okay, so we've hit the top of the hour. There is a question that was just submitted, and it's very, very specific to that person's situation. So I see Robert's probably is typing an answer to that person. So I'm gonna
Just
give
my
him
contact information.
yeah, which
because I know
is exactly what I was gonna say. This is a personal situation and not something we want to address out loud. Okay, and this will be the last question. Will the type of business entity created affect my ability to get a loan?
Robert is shaking, I am shaking now. in a nutshell.
Typically, no. I mean, it might differ with some nonprofits, because with nonprofits, there's no guarantors, there's no owners. LLC or corp, whether it's an S or C corp, no, not at all.
Okay. And I'm going to type an answer to Kenneth, and I think on that one, then we'll be wrapping this up, and I want to thank everybody for joining today. Wanted to get my reply in there. Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Again, SCORE is here to answer questions, and Robert Nichols is as well. And the information will be included in the follow-up email. The handout will also be included with all the links, and a link to the recording. So all that information should be out definitely by Monday for you. And we look forward to seeing you in a future presentation. Thanks all.
Sure. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah.